Are you proud of me, Ryukishi-san? I read the last question arc months ago now, but I didn't start the answer arcs until I solidified my theory. This is apparently the ultimate way to enjoy Higu, and though I will most likely make a full-fledged analysis of it down the line, this is not that. This is me saying what I think is what's really happening down in Hinamizawa. Also, literally none of this is going to make sense if you don't know about Higu or read Higu. Specifically read because the anime adaptation's kinda garbo, but you definitely heard that from me. And I'm not here to regurgitate knowledge that, you should just go read if you're not familiar. If you're fine with being lost though, by all means do continue. I like it when the funny YouTube analytics go up. So, theory. I am a moderate. I think it's a little of column A, a little of B. By that I mean that the answer to what's up with the Watanagashi isn't spiritual or grounded in reality wholly. It's a little of both. For instance, chapter 3 is all over the place near the end with my main boy Keiichi losing it. What he does in cursing people would be legit if not for Oishi making it out without a single scratch. Physically, of course, this stuff would scar anyone mentally, and his cry session at the end of chapter 4 is indicative of that. God, I love that man. Anyhow, back to the plot. In both chapter 1 and 3, I think most of it is Keiichi having paranoid delusions. He's clearly out of it a good bit, more so in chapter 3 where he imagines killing Satoko's uncle. Granted, there's quite a few coinky-dinks that got him to where he is now, but I 100% think that he was just losing it, which, if you remove yourself even slightly from Keiichi's perspective, is obvious, I think. Take the needle and the meal Rena made for him. It couldn't be found. I think it didn't exist. His mouth was fine afterwards. He was just paranoid and imagining things. Maybe a bit of the food was too hard or something. I legit think Rena and Mion only meant the best in that chapter, by the way. They are angels most of the time. Keiichi's the crazy one. So if what our lad did isn't mystical, what about other people? I think that's also delusions on their part. There is a yearly tradition of death at the Watanagashi that someone wants to keep up because they want everyone else to fear Hinamizawa. Those who aren't in it, I mean. It's a scare tactic and why outsiders are always the ones preyed on, or those who harmed the village. Like, if you disrespect Hinamizawa is going to snipe you. Like, it's always that. Be it the Sonozaki clan or some mix of the three big families, I don't know honestly. I just think it's a clear fact that someone is perpetrating this. The answer arcs will likely dive into that. I mean, I would hope. They're called the answer arcs. So where does the mystical come in, you might be reasonably asking? Well, chapter 4. Based on her conversation with Asaka, clarification, I don't know if that's his name and I'm kinda too lazy to look it up, so forgive me. Based on her conversation with Asaka in the middle of the story, the one where she suddenly gets serious and changes tones entirely, I think Rika is the avatar of Oyashiro-sama. That's also stated to be what the Furude clan does. They make avatars. They reincarnate as Oyashiro-sama. It's great. Oyashiro-sama's secretly good guy. Also, she's a looper. She's seen these events time and time again and is trying to find the root cause. As someone in a kid's body, that's pretty hard though. When Rika dies, like with the crows in chapter 3, I think it's her abandoning the timeline as a failed one. Her conversation with Akazaka seems pretty indicative of this to me. For clarification, he's the MC of chapter 4. Should probably stated that. I am sorry for being bad with names. He's a good guy. I like it when he plays Mongjong, okay? Okay, I'm a real fan, I promise. I promise. It's the conversation where she talks about how he should get out of here because things won't go well this time. As this is the timeline where the great Hinamizawa disaster occurs, that warning was apt. This also seems to indicate that the trigger might be really early on in the timeline, which would only make it harder for Rika to solve on her own. Ergo, I think that's the mystical aspect. Hinamizawa will go to shit because of some outside group's influence trying to inspire fear in the idea of Hinamizawa and its people. The whole demon thing. People want to inspire that so that no one fucks with them and they don't lose their village. It's all this really, good intent, bad execution stuff. You could have done this, peacefully after the murders, I think. Oh well. As Oishiro-sama incarnate, Rika doesn't want to lose her home and the people there, so she tries to stop that, which is why she abandons like the Hinamizawa disaster timeline, or maybe even a timeline where the village does get crushed. It's pretty simple, and honestly I don't know how valid this is, but that is my standing theory. If you've read all the question arcs yourself, let's talk about it in the comments. And if you've read all of Higu, please feel free to passive-aggressively imply how stupid I am for coming to this conclusion. But please, no spoilers. Onward to the answer arc soon. Sleepy out.